Good evening, class. Sorry if this video is a little late. We've had a little trouble with YouTube again tonight. But anyway, this lesson is about Lesson 3.5, and it's about mixed numbers. I hope you like my visual down here. Crazy mixed up numbers and improper fractions. And if you remember back from previous years, this is a little clue as to what improper fractions are. And improper fractions, of course, are ones where the number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So I hope you enjoy my little attempt at being artistic to help bring that point home. But that's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. So basically, most fractions that we see and that we've been dealing with the last couple days usually have a part on the top and a whole on the bottom. And really what that means, the bottom tells you how many pieces the whole has been divided up into, and then the top tells you how many parts you have. So imagine again, we've been using the idea of a candy bar. Imagine a candy bar broken up into 8 pieces, okay, and you have 3 of those pieces. So you have a little less than half the candy bar. Another way to think of it is imagine you had a pumpkin pie, okay, and take that pumpkin pie and divide it up into 8 equal pieces. Go ahead and slice it. And 3/8 is the equivalent of having this piece, and this piece. Again, it's a little bit less than half. Okay, and that's the way most fractions are. And when a fraction has a smaller number on the top and a bigger number on the bottom, it's called a proper fraction. And that's just the kind of fraction that we're used to seeing. Well, if there's a proper fraction, as we just talked about on the previous slide, there is also an improper. Now be careful, it's not improper. Improper would mean wrong. And there's nothing wrong about these fractions, so it's actually improper fraction. And an improper fraction, as I said before, is just one where the numbers are reversed. In other words, the bottom would still stand for the number of pieces a whole has been divided up into, and the top still represents how many you have. But if I had 11/8, that means I have a whole pie, if I put it back together, and then 3/8 pieces left. In fact, 11/8 simplifies to 1 3/8, and that's what we're going to be talking about in just a minute. So let's just talk one more time. Let's review the vocabulary. So we have proper fractions where the top number is smaller than the bottom, and we have improper fractions where the top number is bigger. All right, so let's talk about how to switch fractions back and forth between these two forms. Okay, so let's take that example that we just had a second ago, and let's repeat. I'll put down 11/8. Okay, this is an improper fraction. Oops, I'm sorry, it's supposed to be an 8. It's an improper fraction because the top is bigger. All right, so here's what we do. To change an improper fraction into a mixed number, what we do is we divide. Okay? We literally just divide the top number by the bottom number. That's really what a fraction means anyway. And so if I divide 11 by 8, 8 goes into 11 one time. And let's do the old-fashioned division like we used to do. We're going to get a remainder of 3, so we get 1 with a remainder of 3. And what we do to change this into a mixed number is we divide it, and then we just write the quotient down, which in this case was 1, and the remainder, and then the original divisor. Okay, so this is the quotient. This is how many times the bottom goes into the top. Okay, if we get a remainder, that goes up here. And the bottom number just stays the same. Okay, it's the same divisor that we had right here. So we notice here we had an 8 in the bottom, and we have an 8 in the bottom here. Okay, so these numbers stay the same. Okay, let's do a couple of these for practice. Okay, again, all you're going to do is divide the top by the bottom and then rewrite it as a mixed number. So let's take 25/3. Okay, so this time you can do these without actually doing the division problem. 3 goes into 25 8 whole times. 8 times 3 would give you 24. So we get a remainder of 1 that goes up top. And again, the divisor stays the same. So 25/3 is the same as 8 1/3. All right, let's try another one. Let's try the same number on top, 25. This time let's divide by 7. So 25/7. So if we took a candy bar and broke it into sevenths, And we did that with several candy bars, and we took all the pieces. We had 25 pieces. Well, suppose I took 7 pieces and I kind of melted them back together to turn it back into a whole candy bar. How many candy bars would I end up with? So again, 7 goes into 25, a total of 3 times. And we can do this in our head. 7 times 3 is 21, with a remainder of 4. And again, the bottom number doesn't change, so it's 3 and 4 sevenths. So we'd have 3 and 4 sevenths candy bars. 3 whole ones, and then 4 pieces, a little bit more than half. Okay, let's do one more of these. Actually, no. Let's pause. I'm going to give you 2 to work out on your own. And so let me go ahead and write these down. And what I'd like you to do is pause the video. We'll do 40 over 9. We'll call that problem A. Let's give you 3 of these. Problem B, we'll give you 32 over 6. And problem C, let's give you 23 over 4. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video for a moment and just quickly take each of these improper fractions and divide them and change them into a mixed number. And as soon as you've done that, go ahead and press play and you can continue with the video. Okay, so pause the video now. Alright, if you're back, you should have taken a second to write down ABC on your paper and quickly change these into mixed numbers. So 9 goes into 40. Total of 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36, so I get a remainder of 4. So I get 4 and 4 ninths. 6 goes into 32. It goes in a total of 5 times. 6 times 5 is 30, so I still have a remainder of 2, so I get 5 and 2 6. However, I don't know if you caught this or not. That's technically okay if that's what you wrote. But anytime we have a fraction, unless it specifically says otherwise, we always reduce it. So 2 over 6, that fraction part, is actually an even number over an even number. So we can reduce it like we did in class yesterday and reduce it down to 5 and 1/3. And the way you would show your work here, just on the fraction part, is you divided the top and bottom by 2. Okay, so 5 and 1/3 is actually the best answer. And if you go back to the original fraction, you could have actually reduced it before we changed it into a mixed number. You can see that 32 over 6 is really the same thing as 16 over 3. And then again, if I reduced it, you'll see I'll get 5 and 1/3. So whether you reduce first and then change to a mixed number, or change to a mixed number and then reduce, it really doesn't matter. The final one down here, 4 goes into 23. I think you probably have figured out that that went in 5 times with a remainder of 3, so we get 5 and 3/4. Okay? Now before we go to the next screen, let's take a look at this last problem. We got a little bit more room down here. What if we go the other direction? What if I give you 5 and 3/4 and you want to change it into an improper fraction? Well, that's actually even easier. All you do then is something that I kind of call the check mark. Okay, what you do is you take the number of whole numbers and the divisor, in this case 5 times 4, and you multiply those. So 5 times 4 is equal to 20. And then you add the remainder in. And so 20 plus 3 is 23. So you get 23 over 4. Alright, so let's go to the next slide and practice just a few more of these. Okay, so let's start with 5 and 2 sevenths, and let's do that same check mark. So we're going to multiply like this, and then we're going to add like this. So this is multiply, and this is add. So 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is a total of 37. And again, just like before, the bottom number doesn't change. So 5 and 2 sevenths is the same thing as 37 over 7. Alright, let's try a different one. Let's try 2 and 10/13. Again, do the check mark. Okay. 2 times 13 is 26, plus 10 gives me 36. And I divide that by 13. Okay. One more, and then we'll have you do a couple on your own. Suppose I give you 7 and 4/12. Alright, now let's stop. Before we do the check mark on this, because obviously we're going to get some bigger numbers. 7 times 12 is going to be a little bit of work. I want you to take a look for a second at the fraction part of this mixed number. Okay? 4 and 7/12, or sorry, 7 and 4/12. Well, look, 4 and 12 are both even. So I could reduce that down to 7 and 2 over 6. But those are still both even, so I could reduce that one down to 7 and 1/3. Okay? And if I do that first, before I try to do the check mark, now look what happens when I change it into an improper fraction. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. Now the math isn't so hard, and again, the denominator in this case was at that point 3, so we get 22 over 3. If I had done it originally, I would have got 7 times 12, which is 84, plus 4, would have given me 88 over 12. Now that will eventually reduce to 22 over 3, but it's a lot more math and a lot more likely that we're going to make a mistake. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do 3 videos, or three problems just like we did before. So a total of 6 for this video. Okay, and so let's take the numbers 3 and 2/3. Let's do 7 and 1/4, and let's do 3 and 3/10. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, and for each of these I'd like you to change them into an improper fraction. As soon as you have done that, go ahead and resume the recording and see if your answers are correct. So go ahead and pause now. Alright, for each of these we're going to start with a check mark, like so. I'm going to actually draw that in, and so 3 times 3 plus 2, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11 thirds. And that's the answer. 7 times 4 in the second one is 28, plus 1 is 29. And again, the denominator stays the same, so it's 29/4. And finally, 3 and 3/10. 3 times 10 is 30, plus 3 is 33 over 10. And so these are the improper fractions that are equal to the mixed numbers. But I could easily then divide them like we did in the first part. If I divide 11 by 3, it goes in 3 times with a remainder 2, and I can change it right back into a mixed number. So this is actually a cyclical process. So you need to be able to do both kinds of questions. If you're given a mixed number and asked to change it to an improper fraction, then you need to do the check mark. If you're given an improper fraction and you need to change it to a mixed number, then you need to divide and put the quotient down, and then put the remainder on the top. And again, notice in all of these, whichever direction we're going, notice the denominator never changes. Okay, that's it for mixed numbers and improper fractions for now. I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit shorter. Thanks for watching, and we will practice these in class tomorrow. All right, thank you all.